Hello, and welcome to the Weird Waves podcast. My name is Taylor, and this is episode 47. On this week's podcast, we are talking to Barbara Kaiser. She is the creator and founder of Kaiola. This is such a cool interview. She talks all about the process of patenting her surf hats, and they are completely unique and different from any other surf hat you've ever heard of. And now I want to have a surf hat. I never thought about having one, and now I definitely want one. So I actually Barbara and I found each other talking about hair, and she contacted me saying, hey, I have this surf company that makes these surf hats that makes it less likely that your hair is going to tangle. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Started looking into it and knew she had to be on the podcast. It's so fascinating to hear how product goes from idea in your head to an actual tangible thing that you can hold in your hand. And to hear about that whole process was super fascinating. Barbara is extremely intelligent and very dedicated to her company. It's really refreshing to hear someone with such passion, and yeah, I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. I know that I did.
How are you?
I'm really well. Pretty hot here, so I'm enjoying Costa Rica, right? So still stuck here. To be honest, by choice. Like now, I wanted to go back a little bit to Europe for a little while, but I don't think this will happen anytime soon. The borders are closed. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Did you prepare? Like, were you financially fine to stay where you're at, or how did that look for you?
Yes, my plan was anyway to spend I basically moved back to Costa Rica, like full time in March. And the plan was to spend the majority of the time here going forward, and then go back to Europe like twice or three times a year to look after the business and see family. So I'm here by choice, really, but still it feels weird that I can't actually leave.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange situation, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure. Is there lockdowns and stuff in Costa Rica, or how are they handling it?
So when I arrived, I changed my flight to get here. So I got here the day before they closed the borders because I really, really wanted to get here. And from the day I arrived, I then had to do my 2-week self-quarantine. And they closed the beaches. So we only were allowed to start surfing 3 weeks ago. So for 2 months, everything was closed. And still now we're only allowed to surf weekdays from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. So 3 hours in the morning.
Okay.
But it's okay. Like, it's not that I'm in a rush that I have like a 2-week holiday. I'm going to live here. So I'm not in a bad mood. I'm making the most out of it. I have lots of time to get work done. So it's really good.
That's cool. I wonder how they decided those specific hours. Did they tell you why, or?
So I think the biggest reason is that they want to avoid people traveling. So the borders are closed, but they basically, because there are many people trapped in Costa Rica as tourists, and then also the locals. So they basically wanted to avoid that people travel to go surfing somewhere. Or just to go to the beach. And by having those morning hours, there's no way that, it doesn't make sense to spend a week somewhere if you're only allowed to go to the beach. So the beaches are totally closed. So there's no beach holidays or anything allowed, just to avoid the travel. And it sounds weird, but it actually all makes sense. So I'm supportive of it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's cool. It's It's been really interesting and also bizarre to see the way that different places have dealt with that and with surfing. It's like how they came to their conclusion and how everybody's been doing that has been really like kind of wild to watch it play out.
Yeah, and there are lots of people that are super annoyed and going crazy, and I totally understand it. So for some of us, like not being able to surf gets us into a bad mood, but then I think we just have to stand above that and just say, okay, so there is a reason behind it, and it's very hard for governments, I find, to make the right choices these days because you don't really know. So I think that's why I try to always understand what's the rationale for those decisions, and if it really is to avoid travel and therefore avoid the virus spreading, I get it. For us locally, we're all just a small community here. It doesn't make, we could surf all day because I live in a tiny village. There are not many people here. So it's kind of, it doesn't make sense to not allow us to surf. But if it would get out that I'm in a town here with a pretty famous wave, that we are allowed to surf here, everyone would come,
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I get it, and I'm saying, okay, let's just stick with it and see what happens.
Where are you from originally?
So I'm German, but I haven't lived in Germany for over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I still have a slight British accent, but I'm losing that as well. I
Yeah,
lived in
I can
London
hear it.
yeah, but here there's so many Americans in Costa Rica, so I'm totally losing that. But I lived in London for 17 years. Then I did a very radical move in 2015. So it's already 5 years ago. Shit. I had a corporate career in London, and I got really tired, and I basically quit everything and moved here to this tiny fishing village in Costa Rica. So from a very big city, I did a very, very, very radical move and decided to not want city life anymore. I just wanted to surf every day, and I became a beach bum for 2 years. I literally became, from working in a corporate career in London, I became a beach bum. And then 2 years ago, I left Costa Rica and I moved to Portugal. So I wanted to go back to Europe. That was kind of the idea, to go back to Europe and start my business. By then I already had, I will tell you later about it, right? They're surfing hats. I had my business idea, and I decided that I can only really do this in Europe. I tried to do it here out of Costa Rica. I went to Colombia to look at factories there, but then it was all too complicated. And also for personal reasons, I decided, okay, let's go back to Europe. But I obviously want to be somewhere where there are waves. So going back to Germany was not an option. Going back to the UK, no way. And so I decided Portugal. I thought, great waves, amazing for doing startups. And yes, I spent 2 years there. I set up a business. And now I decided, what, I can now run the business out of Costa Rica because I just love this place and I want to live here. So originally German, spent a lot of time in the UK, in London, but have a very Latin weakness and love Costa Rica. And well, basically, so my plan is to live here. I'm now just starting to build a house here as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's really cool. Yeah, I'm really happy. Yeah.
That's incredible. What was your corporate career in London?
I was a strategy consultant, so strategy and management consulting. Many people don't know really what this is, but this is similar to, many people know McKinsey. I did not work for McKinsey, but I worked for a similar company. That was a very, very intense, super corporate job, traveling a lot, crazy working hours. And then after doing that for several years, I moved into banking. But again, always in business strategy. So I did business strategy for one of the larger banks in the UK. And then from that corporate career, I actually, before quitting totally, I took a sabbatical. So I wanted to quit, and I said, don't quit, take a 6-month sabbatical, get it out of your system and come back, work with us again. And that's when I first started to surf. So this was my first surfing session. I booked a holiday, I booked a surf camp in Brazil. So that was my first time. I had this urge that I wanted to do something crazy. I always loved the ocean. And I wanted to, do something very different. And I always wanted to go to Brazil. So I went to a surf camp in Brazil. And I got hooked, and then had my 6-month sabbatical. I was surfing, this was all about surfing. So I did lots of places in Brazil, and then Panama and Costa Rica. And then I went back to London. And after 3 months, I said, this is no way I can continue to do that. And I decided to quit fully, and I moved to Costa Rica. So
wow. How did they take it when you quit? Were people surprised?
Well, everyone thought I was crazy, like quitting your job, moving somewhere, where I literally did not intend on working. Like I really said, okay, I think I was about to have a burnout. I was really, really exhausted, really, really stressed. Also had some private life issues, and I just decided, I'm out of here. And lots of people kind of said, that's crazy. You shouldn't leave a career. And I was just the happiest person on earth. I was super happy. And so, yeah, some people understood it and thought, wow, that's super brave to, on your own, like leave all the security you have if you have a corporate job and like live in a city where there's healthcare and like everything is taken care of to go somewhere like Costa Rica and become a beach bum. But I was the best decision of my life, I have to say. And it really helped me to figure out what I want to do. And it then, crystallized. Like I knew that I wouldn't want to be a surf bum for the rest of my life, right? So I am an ambitious person and I like to have a purpose. So I always knew that I eventually want to do something. But then I was kind of thinking, so what can you do if you don't really want to work in an office again? And I always had this urge to do something, like set something up by myself. And so I was like, I had the background in business strategy and like writing business plans and anything. That was not a problem, but I wanted to have a good idea, right? I wanted something make sense, that fulfills me, and where I really see a purpose, and start something from scratch on my own. And like going through all these different ideas, I eventually came up with something that was for me just something that I needed. So there was a product need that I had. And so I decided I had explored that for some time, like looking at the surf hat. So I just tell you why, kind of how a surf hat came about. So I first time surfing in Brazil, I got so sunburned, you have no idea. And like I did not know what to do anymore because I put on all the sunblock. By then I didn't know about, the surf mat or like any of those really good natural zinc products that exist for surfing. I didn't know about that. I used normal sun lotion and obviously it didn't work. So I burned really, really badly. And I basically did not know how can I protect myself from the sun out in the water. And then I saw someone wearing one of those really weird surf hats, the FCS ones, and I decided to buy one. And it helped me, it was better. I felt more protected. It bothered me a lot because it fell off and like it was kind of a disturbance during the surfing, but at least I felt protected from the sun.
Is this the one, sorry to interrupt you, is this the one that snaps? It's like a bucket hat one that snaps under your chin?
Yes, it snaps under your chin, but it's not a bucket. I didn't use a bucket hat style one. I used the one with a visor because it actually protects your face more. Because the visor is longer. The bucket hat has all around protection, but it's not as wide standing out. So the face protection is less. And so yeah, I got one of those, and then it didn't work. And then when I decided that surfing will be part of my life, I knew that I need to find a better sun protection, like for the body you can do rash guards and whatever, but for the face it was really complicated. And so I ended up ordering from anywhere else in the world. I basically ordered all surf hats that are commercially available. With surf hats, I always mean with a chin strap. Always the ones that actually are supposed to stay on your head while you surf. And they looked horrible. I don't know if you've seen people wearing them,
Yes, I have.
Most of them have a really, really ugly design. And like, and somehow we are still, we are a bit vain, as surfers. We want to kind of, have a nice outfit or something. Like, not all of us, but like you look like a total kook when you wear one. Like there's nothing you can do. You look like a total kook. So that was one thing. I didn't like what they looked like, and then they just didn't work. They fell off. They were kind of hanging down in your face. You couldn't see anything, and you're always trying to hold on to it. And then I realized there must be a way to find a better one. And so I tried to buy one ordering from Australia, from Japan, from anywhere, right? And none of them was anything that I thought actually that I like. And so then I thought, well, maybe this should be my business idea. And so I looked into this and kind of was playing back and forth with it, spoke to so many people about it, and eventually said, yes, I'm going to do this. And I then moved to Portugal and started from scratch. I had never done, I don't know, it's just interesting, like, to go into the detail of it.
Oh, it's certainly interesting. Yeah, continue. No, it's very interesting.
Yes, I basically, so the reason I had moved to Portugal was really threefold. So I wanted to find a place where I can produce, like find a good manufacturer. And within Europe, Portugal is famous for super high quality factories. Mm-hmm. Second one was I definitely wanted to surf, I wanted to be somewhere where there are nice waves. And then also I wanted to be in a place where I can find, because I knew I wanted to do it by myself, but where I could find access to high quality but not too expensive freelancers, because I knew I needed help in different areas. And so Lisbon has been kind of the new startup city within Europe. And I didn't move to Lisbon. I moved to a place called Ericeira, which is like a super cool, cute surfing town just an hour outside of Lisbon. And so that's why I decided, okay, I go there, but I didn't really I didn't had anything set up. So I just said, okay, I do it and I deal with it when I get there. And so then I was step by step, like thinking, I didn't speak much Portuguese. I speak fluent Spanish and I spoke a little bit of Portuguese. So it was a language that I had to learn. I didn't know how to set up a business, like in the first place. So I had to learn everything from scratch. And then finding a manufacturer was super difficult as well. And then finding a designer to help me actually make the product, because my idea was there, but I'm not a designer. I had no clue how to do this. I learned a lot about fabrics and everything. I went to like fabric fairs, and I did it step by step, and it took me 2 years to actually have a product on the market. It was a really, really lengthy, super intense process. But yeah, I then did a crowdfunding campaign last year, to get some visibility for marketing, and do some product testing, because for me that was interesting to see what kind of colors I like and get some early feedback. And I only officially launched the business just before the pandemic hit. So it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I only really started to officially sell online, two weeks before the pandemic hit. So bad timing, but that's okay. I will get there eventually. I have an amazing product. I'm super happy about it. And I will, over time, turn people into surf hat lovers rather than surf hat haters. That's my mission. I really want people to consider a surf hat like an essential surf accessory that's really, really helpful, that will protect us and will make us surf better. Because the biggest thing, I think, is, apart from sun protection, is you see so much better. So all this glare that very often, for me personally, bothered me a lot. I really didn't know how to deal with that. So that making you surf better and protecting you more is something that I know eventually people will appreciate. And I know there's a learning curve as well, because people at the moment don't even think about a surf hat. So this is nothing that pops to people's minds when they think about sun protection,
100%. And I didn't even think about the glare at all. Like, at all. I did not even think about that. That's such a good point, because it does, it depends on where you're surfing, but that does make a huge difference, because at my break here, I've never had a huge issue with glare, but we just moved, and where the last 2 times I've surfed, man, I was doing this, with putting my hand over my eyebrows, basically doing what a surf hat would do. Yes. And so when you said that, in my mind, I was like, wow, it's like, you would think that it's kind of like a simple thing, but it makes a lot of sense.
it makes a huge difference. And my eyes are generally quite light sensitive. And I tried, there's some sunglasses you can wear for surfing. I tried that as well, and it didn't work. And so for me, like surfing with a surf hat is like you surf so much better because you see so much better. Because of the glare, you don't have this, oh my God, I'm burning. How many times did I leave the water? Think, okay, I have to go, I'm burning. And now I feel protected, and so I can surf longer, I can stay out a lot longer. And I personally surf better because I see better. And also, and that will be of interest to you, the hair management element of it.
I'm interested to hear about this. This is interesting.
Yes. So I have had real big problems with my hair. I have swallowed my hair after a wipeout, coming up for air, literally swallowing. Are you still there, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay. Literally swallowing my hair, which was one of the most horrendous experiences ever. I thought I would choke, it was horrible, and then you had to pull it out. But the biggest problem is getting tangled hair, and I know that this is also one of your very topics very close to your heart. I have hair that tangles super easily, and there have been so many occasions where I have then had to spend at least an hour after surf trying to detangle.
Yeah,
and like getting so nervous that it doesn't come out anymore, like losing lots of hair in the process of it. So it really, that holding it in, prevents that that tangling, and it prevents hair from being in your face while you surf. Like, I don't know if you see this, how many people put the hair out of their face when they have to pop up because it's bothering them. Yeah. And they lose balance and they wipe out because they had to use their arm to get rid of their hair because they couldn't see anything. So it really prevents your hair from coming into your vision. And then the other thing, like going back to tangling, I have, and this is indirectly related to surfing, but it is definitely caused by surfing from having so much damage in my hair. After coming back from Costa Rica and for Christmas to Germany, and I went swimming in a public pool with chlorine water, my hair got so tangled that I that was actually on Christmas Eve. I went swimming. That for 2 days, then I was wearing a hat at home because I had like a huge knot on the back of my head with all my hair in it because I had done a bun. I was swimming with a bun and it didn't come out anymore. Then I went to the hairdresser like after Christmas and said, "Sorry, we have to shave your hair."
No.
Like we have to literally shave your head fully. Because no, you have no idea. It got so solid.
No, it's a dread. I do know because it's the hair locking together. It's essentially what happens when you get the dreading or the locking of the hair. I've seen it. I've only seen it, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've only seen it with people that are like in hospital for a long time, right? So they're like laying down, and on the back of their head, they're not because they were very ill. And so I've dealt with that before, but never from one swimming experience.
From one swimming. That's insane. So doing crawl, freestyle. Like I swam. I used to be a swimmer, so I can swim for a pretty long time. So I swam, I think, for 1.5 hours, like all the time, like moving your head sideways. And I had a bun, and I didn't wear like a cap or anything. So that caused and then me trying to undo it, I made it worse. And so I had one gigantic dread. And so they said, "Yeah, sorry, we have to shave it off." And I said, "No way." So I eventually went to an Afro hairdresser. I sat there for 10 hours and basically with razor blades and like lots of force.
Cutting it out.
Yes. But that meant I lost half of my hair. So one side was a lot worse. So I had then this side here only had like feathers left pretty much, but at least I wasn't bald. Anyway, so this is going off topic, but I thought this
No,
would be something of interest to you.
No, it's very interesting because it's usually, I mean, usually the tangles are less from a bun and more from like a ponytail, which is what I told you, because your hair is free to like tangle around itself, you know. So I usually recommend, at least for surfing, people with long hair to do 2 braids. Just because it kind of keeps everything manageable, and then it won't tangle with itself. However, especially if you have layering back here, and you're totally right, you will still get knots, maybe if you have like some smaller pieces around your head or in the back of your head. That is like, I'm so sorry. That is such an insane thing to have happen. That's crazy.
It was a traumatizing experience.
Oh,
I'm literally traumatizing.
Yeah.
And so that's why every time now I have tangled hair from surfing, I get so nervous. Like I'm starting to like I can't function. And then I brush so hard because I get so impatient.
Yes.
But that's why like wearing a surf hat will put your hair, like prevent it from tangling. And like I do a low ponytail and put it through the back opening. And since I do that, I've never had issues anymore. And so this is one of the big advantages of wearing a surf hat for people with long hair. It's a very nice side benefit, I have to admit.
I mean, it's a great, it's a great benefit for people who have that issue. And I know that different water does different things to people's hair. So I know, since we came from the lake, and the lake surfing community of women that was involved with, and I'm still involved with, the lake water, it's different than the salt water, the way that it affects your hair. So it's like people whose hair would normally tangle in salt water doesn't tangle in this lake water, but then vice versa, you know. So it's kind of this strange situation. So I really think that even if someone doesn't care about surf protection and doesn't care about, the
glare element,
the glare, then to have your hair not be tangly is a pretty huge benefit.
And not coming into your face, it can really bother you. So and then the other thing is it protects you from spray. I don't know, like in some conditions when you have offshore winds and the spray really gets into your eyes, or just splashes, like when you paddle for a wave, you will create water splashes, and that also like very often then limits your vision, so it protects you from that as well. So there are only benefits, and the only downside with previous surf hats was that you just didn't look very good, and that some of them didn't really work. They came off. Like I have had situations where I had, like, it was still clipped under my chin, but then came back, and then it's like a balloon. And it strangled me because, under the wave, when the water gets in and it pulls, it was literally strangling me. So it was really scary. I had really scary situations surfing with a surf hat where the chin straps are made out of neoprene very often, or made out of a material that stretches. And when it stretches, so underwater, it will widen and then it will come back. And that's why, like, one of the, I have at least have so many features put into this hat to make it perfect, but one of the features is really the lack of stretch, that it stays on, and that makes a big difference as well. But it's been an amazing experience. I've had such good feedback from people, and like doing something like I really like. Nowadays, everyone just does like, new business ideas in technology or something. And like for me to actually produce a physical product, I love it. I love the fact that, I can hold it in my hand, that people want it, and I see other people now in the lineup wearing my products. It makes me so happy. And to know that I'm protecting them, and like sun protection is so important. I personally, and I haven't told this like publicly, like in from the business side, but I developed a pre-skin cancer from surfing. So I had on my lip, I had sunburn on my lip several times. Because what I do when I come up for air after wipeout, I always wipe my face. So I always wipe my nose. And so like in nose and mouth areas where sunblock never lasts for me. And so I had like several instances where I had sunburn on my lip, which is not a very pleasant thing. And this turned into a very scary situation because I had to have a biopsy taken of my lip. So that they had stitches in my lip. I took out a piece to send it in to see if it's already skin cancer or if it's just, pre-skin cancer. And I was very lucky it was pre-skin cancer, but I had to have a proper surgery to remove it. And that was really unpleasant. I had my entire lower lip peeled with laser.
Oh my
So they
God.
took out the entire skin. I had a lower lip without skin on it, totally swollen. And then for like a week, I couldn't speak or eat. And then it took a full month to heal. And like it was bleeding all the time. It was really, really unpleasant. And so I've seen the real consequences of sun damage. And this happened this happened halfway through the business development. So it really strengthened me in wanting to do a product around sun protection because I just realized how bad it can be. And like it obviously depends where you're surfing. But if you surf in a area where the sun is very strong, there is no mercy out on the ocean. You have no shade anywhere. And so I'm happy that I help people to protect themselves, from the sun, from the glare, from the hair tangling, from the spray, and that we can, surf better. That's all I want to do. And I'm someone like I learned surfing really late in life, but it's made me such a different person. It's like changed my life. I'm so much more happy. Ocean treatments is the best you can have, and so now with my surf hat, I'm happy. I now need to think about I'm now developing a new one as well. So the idea is that this business will eventually, at one point will make me some money. At the moment, I've just invested money, and now with with the pandemic, it's like not going anywhere. Like all the orders that we get in, we now have huge issues to send it because postal services are not working anymore, really. Like particularly to the US, we have lots of sales actually go to the US, and so sending from Portugal to the US, it's just not working anymore. So we have had parcels stuck with USPS for over 8 weeks, and so now I'm like some people are super nice and super patient and understanding, and others I have then sent them a new one with FedEx, and so I'm losing money on this at the moment. But I know eventually this hopefully things will get back to normal again.
Yeah, it's just so it's changed so much that I think one of those small things like shipping and shipping times and how do you get, so you realize how much stuff we depend on each other, all the different countries actually.
It's really incredible. And like everyone is hit, and there are very few parts of the economy and very few people who actually benefit, from not benefit in a negative way, but where kind of the impact of the pandemic actually has a positive impact on their business, but most of us, we're suffering, and in so many different shapes and forms, like here in Costa Rica, where people depend on tourism. Like tourism is the biggest source of income here, and they closed the borders. We don't know when they will be opened. And people here are very different to how we are kind of, like in the Northern Hemisphere, where we, have savings and kind of think about the future, pay into pensions, and like always have a buffer. Like most of us, try to live that kind of way. here in Costa Rica, people are a lot more reliant on everyday income. That saving mentality doesn't really exist here, and also they don't earn very much. So it's really, if they don't have an income for a few weeks, that is really, really severe. There's no buffer here, and so it's becoming very difficult now here because people just don't have an income. And like luckily where I live here, like you can even live off the jungle. You can plant, everything grows. So food wise, like no one is hungry here, but it's a horrible situation. And I think I don't know, like in Europe, the situation is slowly getting not back to normal, but it's getting a lot better, apart from a few countries where it's still really bad. Here, it's only just starting, and at least people here have the ocean. We're allowed to surf.
Yes.
They have nature, so it's really tough, but it's in an environment where you can enjoy life a little bit more. I'm like here, I'm in my jungle house. I have been stuck here for many weeks, but I'm happy. I'm not stuck in a small apartment where I can't leave. And so all in all, I think we're very lucky here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is good to hear. That's definitely a good outlook to have on it. So I'm curious what production was like when you started, and how many different companies did you contact? Because I know that sometimes with manufacturing, the companies, if they're smaller, they kind of don't get taken seriously in a way. So I'm just wondering what your experience was with that.
Oh, I could talk for hours about this. So it was really hard, right? Because when I moved to Portugal, I did not know anyone. So I had no contacts. I had to start from scratch to see where I can get started. And like, I was then trying to go through, the Chamber of Commerce, and like trying to get a foot in the door somewhere. And I just called everyone I could call, then always asked for recommendations. Like I never hung up the phone without someone giving me another telephone number. So I was super, super persistent to get, a list of possible manufacturers. Then I just drove. That's all. So I lived in the Lisbon area, but all the manufacturing is in northern Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically then just drove there for 3 days, and I called the different factories. Some I had already signed up some meeting. But it was really difficult to find someone who wants to talk to me, because as a startup, what's the benefit of them to talk to someone where the product isn't even ready yet? Like I needed help with the product development, and by speaking to so many people, I realized that Portugal, whilst having a really large manufacturing industry, they are all connected, so everyone knows each other. So then I realized, okay, I got some of the names, I got them repeated several times, one of them good manufacturers. So I could kind of, triangulate a little bit. And I had a short list of 4 manufacturers who thought would be really amazing. And so I was ruthless in getting appointments. I at one point I even lied, that I had already like a large production just to get a foot in the door, because no one takes it seriously. And then also I was actually, by that time I was already speaking some Portuguese. I was making many of the calls in Portuguese, and one company, everyone told me this is the manufacturer who would be the best manufacturer, but forget about it. They only work for really large companies. They have like the minimums are several thousand. So I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And I managed to get someone to give me a recommendation, like give me a name of someone, like always, I was always kind of, please give me a name. I don't know anyone. Give me a name that I can know who to ask for when I call reception. And so this one manufacturer, eventually I got the name, and I called that lady and I said, I'm here in the area. Would you find 15 minutes to speak with me? And she was super nice, and she gave me 15 minutes. And so I presented my project to her, and she said, this is really interesting, but I don't think we can take on, like she said, once in a while we take on a small project, but normally we work only with really large contracts. And she said, but anyway, I'm going to share your project with the boss. And she did, and he said, yeah, let's talk. And then I managed to get a meeting with the big boss, and I was really, really well prepared for that meeting. And this is where kind of, my business strategy came in really handy, and I was extremely prepared. And I told him that there is, a huge opportunity to get into this field. They didn't have any experience doing hardware, so it was a totally new area to them. So a huge investment from their side. They had to buy new machinery, had to learn from scratch. It was really, really difficult to get the first prototype. We've gone through at least 50 versions to have a prototype that was sort of acceptable, So it was a really, really expensive, long process. But in the end, I managed to find and work with the best manufacturer in Portugal. So I was super thrilled. It was really, really difficult. I had to pull all the possible triggers to get there, but that was totally worth it. But it's challenging for startups, It's really difficult because some have such amazing ideas, but you need to find someone who believes in you, and you need to be able to be convincing. And it's a risk for them. They need to really believe in it, and they need to see that there is commercial sense in it in the medium run. Like without it, it's just a waste of money. So I was extremely lucky, but I was also pushing a lot because I knew that if I don't have the best manufacturer, like I wanted a really, really premium product, I had to have the best manufacturer. And yeah, I'm super happy that I managed to. But who knows, this might change again, and they might throw me out because I'm still their smallest client. These things are, every day dealing with new problems. I think that's one of the biggest learnings here doing a startup, every day new problems to solve.
Yeah, but I mean, what a way to keep you on your toes, I guess,
Oh, yes. Keeping on my toes, like, I don't know. There are so many, the last 2 years have been such an amazing learning curve with so many things going so unexpected, and most of the times going wrong, to be honest. Like there were so many things that went totally pear-shaped and threw me back so badly. But then there were some things that got right, and those were the important things, and that kept me going. It's been a total roller coaster. And product-wise, I'm definitely in the right place. I have an amazing product now. Getting the name out, doing marketing, and then being able to be operational, sending things out is just such a huge challenge in today's world. So yeah, it's never boring, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good though. That's very good. Do you own the like pattern or something? How does that work?
Yeah. So for me, it was really important that if I set up a business, I do it all properly, and that I invest the money to get all the bases right, because eventually I want this company to grow. So I own the patent. I have also patent protected my invention. In the end, so I spoke to a patent lawyer. And so in the end, it is an invention because I have developed product elements that are very innovative and inventive. I actually just last week got the confirmation I now can call it patent pending. It takes a year from filing that you then can call it patent pending, because I have some of the product elements are very, very unique, and I don't want them to be copied. And I've also set up the trademark. So everything I've set up is in a way that I can eventually grow internationally. And that was super expensive. Lawyers are very expensive.
Yes.
I also had a legal case against me for the trademark registrations. I had to have very unexpected costs there as well.
Really? On what grounds? Or can you not talk about it?
Yeah, no, okay, it's all good. So I applied first for the European trademark, and so my company is called Kaiola. I can tell you all about how I got to that name. But so when I filed for it, we had, like, the lawyer did all the upfront research to kind of see how likely it would be to go through. Trademark registrations are never black and white, because many people have similar trademarks, either by the sound or by how they are written, or what they look like, that they can oppose your application. And so we had done a risk assessment, said, okay, there are a few companies like Kaiola, there was none existing in my category. So that was all clear, but we knew that there were some names that sort of sound similar that might oppose to it. And in the end, I had a Spanish shoemaker opposing my trademark, called Kaiola. So there was the I was missing in the middle, and that gave them reason to oppose, and they had all the right. In the end, it's a long story, but we managed to find an agreement. But so trademark sounds so easy, you know. You have a nice name, you just want to trademark it. It can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about it, and I'm just now filing my international trademark for to have it. So far, it's only a European one. So I'm in the process for that as well now. So it's an setting it up legally correctly is incredibly cumbersome. It's very expensive. It's not fun. Like the patent application, for example, was a 30-page document with lots of technical drawings. We had 40 different elements with different names, so that we can actually then technically defend what the invention is. I don't want to do this again. I'm very glad I set the groundwork, but yeah, there's some elements that are really, really not fun. But I guess that's part of building a business. It's not all just fun. There are many, many elements that are super bureaucratic, super expensive, and not fun at all. But that's part of it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a crazy, who would have thought a shoemaker, would be the one to claim that.
It's all risk assessment, and sometimes things don't go as planned, and then you just have to find a way around it. I had already thought about rebranding and everything, and in the end, very lucky that I could do it without having to rebrand, and now have my brand registered, so that makes me very happy. And so Kaiola is a brand name that I had been thinking about for a long time, and it means a lot to me. And so I was really defending it. I really didn't want to give it up, and so I'm very glad it came through in the end.
How did you come up with the name?
How have you come up with your name? Like it's an incredible process, right? So it could be like forever ending, or it could be really simple. And so I don't like. Quick question back to you. How did you approach it? Like, maybe not how you got, but how did you approach it?
Okay, so for us, it was literally, I was driving, and I was driving to a job that this was before anything, but I came up with the idea all in kind of one go.
Okay.
I was driving to my job in Chicago, which I was starting to really not like. And I was listening to a different podcast, and the guy is like an entrepreneur, and he said, if you have a good idea or you have an interesting life, you should start a podcast, because there's this guy that he knows that does a podcast about this like cartoon, and he makes $60,000 a year. And I was like, well, that would be cool. And then as I was driving, I was thinking, okay, well, I surf on the lake, right?
Yeah.
Which are waves, and they're weird, and it's a podcast, and it's the Weird Waves podcast. And then I was like, Okay, well, that sounds good. And then I ordered a microphone and I after work came to my husband and said, well, I think we should start a podcast and I think we should call it the Weird Waves Podcast. And he was like, yeah, okay. And we trademarked it as well.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just got it too, I think like last week. And
Okay.
I think it's a trademark. It's not a patent or anything because it's
Yeah.
really just the name and the idea and the use of the name.
Yeah.
So the only issue we had with ours was the word podcast.
Yeah.
So they made an addendum to make sure that we knew that we didn't own the rights to the name podcast.
Okay. Yeah. I
We
get it.
only own the name or whatever, earned the rights to the name Weird Waves Podcast all in that way.
Together. Yeah.
And that's I believe it's for merchandise, video, audio, entertainment, and some sort of events or something was our
Okay.
like
Okay.
verbiage. But yeah, so that's our name.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds pretty straightforward. I like that. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes the simple things actually
Yeah.
are really working. And so I had taken, I wanted to do it well, and I thought, okay, this is going to be like a commercial brand, and like, it has to be a brand for a product. So I thought, okay, so how can I put it? I did all the different tries, like making something that means something, making something that doesn't mean anything, something that kind of, I always wanted something because it has to be something that internationally works, because it is a business that is meant for the international surfing community. But then I also wanted to do something personal, and that makes sense. So Kaiola, in the end, that was a name I had the first time about 4 years ago that I thought about it already, 3.5 years ago. And I went through lots of different circles, had many different names, and I came back to this name eventually. And so Kai is the first part of my surname from Kaiser. That makes it kind of the personal element. Kai in Hawaiian is the ocean. And so I always like, from surfing, the Hawaiian culture is always something that I wanted to have that association with, although I've actually never been to Hawaii. And then Ola is like, because I have been a lot exposed to the Spanish speaking market, is wave. In Portuguese, it means hello. And in Hawaiian, it means life or being alive. So like, it doesn't exist as a word, but as a combination, if you think about a Hawaiian meaning, it would mean something like ocean life, or being alive with the ocean, something like this. It just, I like the sound of it.
I do too.
Yeah, and so I just said, you know what, I go with it. And then I had a branding agency helped me to do the logo and everything. So we went through all the different elements. So it was a really long process to get to the name, but in the end, I'm super happy. And then when I got the opposition for the trademark, I was like thinking, no, I'm not giving this up. I'm going to fight for this. Yeah, it took over 6 months, the entire legal thing, and it was a very upsetting time because I didn't know if in the end I can continue to use it. I didn't. It held me back doing my production because I couldn't print the tags, the little sawn-in tags, until I had confirmation that the name is mine. So the entire production was delayed just because of that. And so lots of knock-on effects. Yeah. I'm just so happy.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And what is the main thing, the main difference between your hats and we'll go with like the traditional surf hat?
Yeah. So it is really made by surfers for surfers. And I think that's the biggest difference, because I have personally realized what does not work with existing surf hats. I've personally kind of said, what features does it need to have to make it fit for purpose. The most like the big brands have not put enough thought into making something that is actually made for surfers, because most likely it was designed by a normal designer and not by a surfer. So me having experienced and tested and tried all the other hats, I knew exactly what it had to have. And so some of the key differences is the biggest thing is the fit. So it does not come off. It has a fit that is, and this is kind of some of the areas that I also protected for the patent, is how the chin straps are connected. So you have 2 points, one at the front of your head and one on the back, and there's a big difference between them. Therefore, it makes it triangular, holding it really well on your head, so it doesn't come off. There is no stretch, so it therefore cannot come off. And where you tighten it in the back of your head, it's sitting lower in the back of your head. Therefore, being able to tighten it below that bone that we all have there. I don't know, I've forgotten the name of it. So it always goes below that. So in terms of fit, it will not come off, and it has a peak that is semi-flexible. So when you wipe out or duck dive, it will always stay in place. So because all the others have like a firm, most of those have a firm peak, and that creates resistance when you wipe out or duck dive, and therefore pulls the hat back. So functionally, that makes it a lot better fit, and also the how the peak. I think you call it visor, right? Like
yeah. Or the bill.
The bill, yeah. In the States, you call it the bill. So the bill. In order to, like, we had 50 different shapes of it, like just to see how the curve should be, so that it has a perfect angle, that it protects you from the sun. It's as big as possible. It protects you from the sun, but it never hangs down, so it never impairs your vision. And it can also be flipped up. So when, like, particularly for longboarders, when you paddle, you don't have to, jack your head up to see. So you can flip it up for paddling to have a better, to see better. Then there's some, like, 1,000 other features, like, for example, the fact that you can fold it and put into your pocket. It's totally soft, so you can totally fold it and put in the pocket. One feature that I really like is that it's multi-use. So I have before that, the biggest difference is the visual one. So visually, it really is different to all the other ones. Because the chin strap is nearly invisible. So I've designed it in such a way that you can't see it. And that was one of the things that really bothered me with other surf hats, is that it looked like you're going horseback riding. You have these big black things, covering. So visually, it's nearly invisible. So it looks more like a baseball hat from far. And then I have all the different colors, like all the others are gray and black. And now I have some color put into it. And people are so happy to be able to have a color choice, have a bit more friendlier colors as well, lighter colors as well, which kind of don't get so hot in the sun. That chin strap, you can tuck it away inside, and then you can wear it like a normal surf hat. And therefore, having a multi-use product, always along the lines of having, less clothing required, like slimming down how much we need, actually. So you can wear it like a normal surf hat, as well, like a normal baseball hat as well. It's really nice. You can put it into the washing machine, so it doesn't ever get that gross. Sometimes hats get so disgusting, and so this one you can just pop into the washing machine. Everything is used with using recycled materials. I've really tried to be as responsible as possible with all my sourcing, my production. It's super ethical as well, like being Portugal produced. And that, just being made in Portugal, like 90% of the other hats are made in China. That makes a big difference as well. And it's so good to be able to have something which, you can feel conscious, have a good conscience wearing it, because, will be long lasting. I even did something, because I tried to see if I can recycle it at the end of its life cycle. So I'm a huge fan. There's in the UK a foundation called the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. This is really about the circular economy. So how you basically don't have waste and how you are more responsible in creating products and kind of thinking about their life cycle. And so I tried everything to make it like fully circular, so that I source it responsibly, and then at the end of its life cycle, it can be recycled again. The problem is that it's so well produced, so well thought together, that you cannot dismantle it at the end of its life cycle. So it would be too much effort to undo all the stitching again and then like separate it. But instead, then I have developed a concept. I call it share the shade. So I encourage, and there's like on the label, like when you receive it, it's written on it. I encourage people to, give it a second life. Like, we are sometimes quite, like if it doesn't look exactly as nice anymore after a few years, we just throw things away. And I basically encourage people to then give it away. And like many of us go to surf trips, to countries where there isn't that much money, or maybe give it to a charity or something, like a surf school, like, for children, to give it away and give it a second life. So that share the shade concept is really encouraging people to think about not throwing things away, and seeing how you can extend the life cycle as much as possible. And that's the compromise. I wanted to be fully circular. It was not possible, but it's like a constant improvement. Like there's so many things I still want to do better going forward. But yeah, I think it's a step-by-step process, really.
Yeah, well, I think it's a testament to how good the product is that you can't break it down. I mean,
yeah, you can't break it down.
That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I understand wanting to hit, all of the kind of eco-friendly or eco-conscious bullet points, but I just think that's very really well thought out. It's very, very clearly well thought out.
It is like it's well thought out, and like I never, like, my intentions were always real. I never wanted to do some greenwashing, so I had this very I've grown up in a very eco-friendly family, and so being responsible has always been in my DNA pretty much. So I really wanted to do it right, but I'm very realistic. Like I couldn't use organic cotton, because it wouldn't last. So I decided, okay, I need to have synthetic materials, but I will source them responsibly. I will create a product that will be very long lasting. And like in this entire process, I learned so much about all the unintended consequences. Like you try to do something well, you try to be environmental friendly, but then actually it might totally backfire. And so that's why I think it's a constant learning curve, and I don't think anyone will ever get it totally right. I think we always need to see how we can, learn from new inventions, new findings, and see how science can help us, do things better every time. And I'm very conscious that my product is not perfect, but I'm trying to make it pretty damn good, and I'm like always trying to improve wherever I can.
Yeah, well, that's how you'll be successful, because you're not just like, here's this hat, you can just tell with the passion that you talk about it. It's cool and it's interesting, and I can appreciate that you're vocal about it, because that's how I found you, basically.
Yeah.
Is like, you're like, you need to try one of these hats, and now I want one. Because when you hear somebody talk about something that they put so much effort into, you kind of want to be a part of that. I think as a consumer, or at least now consumers are more educated and more aware, and they want to be a part of something more like that, and less like, I'm wearing a bucket hat because I got sunburned time,
Yeah. And it's often a combination, like there's a need, sometimes there's a need, and sometimes you don't even know you have that need. So someone needs to help you think, okay, this is actually a product that will serve a purpose, and so so it will be a while, and I'm so super conscious that some people will not recognize the need of wearing a surf hat until they wear it, because then they realize how great it is. Like it's so much better. You surf so much longer, and you surf so much better. And you don't sunburn, and you see better, and you don't have the hair bothering you. You don't have the spray bothering you. It even protects you I love to surf in the rain. That's one of my favorite things to do. And it even it prevents the rain from coming into your eyes when you surf in the rain. So yeah, lots of little things.
That's awesome. So I have 3 more questions for you. The first one is, what is the weirdest wave that you have ever surfed?
You need to you need to explain to me when
Okay.
you say what in what context is for you weird, because like as a non-native speaker there are different interpretations of it, so I would love to hear your interpretation of it.
Okay, so that's actually the beauty of this question, is that it's more about how you define weird than how I define weird. So
Okay,
for example,
perfect.
we've had guests say the wave itself was weird and strange. Some people say that the people surfing the wave were weird, or that the location was like strange. So it's
Okay.
any yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I just want to double check with you,
Yeah,
before.
sure.
So I think for me, it's the first time, like I learned to surf in Brazil and in Costa Rica, always in warm water. I then came back to the UK, to London, and I had the surfing bug. I said, I have to go surfing. I don't care, whatever. So I organized a trip to Cornwall, and so this was the first time I was supposed to get into cold water surfing. And the first time I was actually wearing a wetsuit, a rented wetsuit that was far too small for me. So only getting ready for surfing, my hands were bleeding from pulling so hard to get the wetsuit on. I had bleeding hands. I then finally was in the wetsuit. I felt it was far too small for me. So I felt like I can't even bend over. The moment I bend over, I was snapping up again,
Hmm.
And then I went into the water, and I felt like so strange to have like the cold water on your head. My head was spinning. I felt that I could not paddle. The popping up was at first really difficult because it was hard to like put your legs in, like because it
Hmm.
was so tight, to compact your body. But then getting up was really easy because it was like springing back. So my first time cold water surfing, I think, was my weirdest surf. It was not a good experience, I have to say, but it was just fun to see that I would do anything to go surfing.
Yes, that's
And
hilarious.
since I've learned that there are better wetsuits out there, I'm still a warm water surfer at heart, and I will always be a warm water surfer at heart.
That is a really good story. Um, my next question is, what was your biggest scare moment while surfing? Your like, oh shit moment.
Oh, there's so many. I wouldn't even know if I could have one that was the worst. I've injured myself quite a lot surfing. Like I've um, at the very beginning, like being a blissfully unaware surfer where fear didn't exist. I
Yeah.
paddle out into huge waves, like came over the falls. My board went down fast, and I fell onto the board,
Oh.
broke my ribs. Um, that was my first proper accident, and since then, I've become a lot more aware of, that you actually can hurt yourself pretty badly. So I've become, like, even sometimes I will call it fear, which I'm trying to overcome because I don't think being fearful is helpful for surfing, but I definitely am more aware of the dangers. Yes, I've had several broken bones from surfing, many cuts and everything. But I think the moment, and this comes back to the hair, being caught in a really bad wipeout, like struggling to get air, and after the third time being held down in really turbulent waves, I swallowed my hair.
Oh, that's
And
crazy.
that was really, really, really scary. And so yeah, I think that of all my injuries, that pain, that panic moment when you're anyway already really exhausted, you're really struggling for air, and then having to pull your hair out of your mouth was not fun.
My I can picture it, and it's just hearing you say that, it just shudders, makes me go, oh God. Um
Yeah.
and my last question for you is, what is next for you?
Well, next for me are many things. On the business side, I definitely want Kaiola to grow. I really want more people to wear my product and see how great it is, because I think there's so many benefits from it. I'm developing a second product as well. So I will actually develop a bucket hat style. So this
Oh,
is
cool.
in the making now. Um, and yeah, so Kaiola is my total focus at the moment. I love my company. I'm super excited. I will not be defeated by anything. I will just keep on pushing. It might take longer, but so that is on the business side. Just pushing ahead there. On the private life, I'm ready to build my life here in Costa Rica. Building a house, very exciting. Next week we're going to have it will start. So this is super, super exciting. And I will continue to be Costa Rica based with my European anchors, both for the business, to visit the factory 2 to 3 times a year, and family. So, and I think, just the most happiest entrepreneur ever, living in Costa Rica, never ever wanting to go back to an office job. And yes, a warm water surfer. So this is my happy place here.
That's
I
awesome.
have warm water all year round.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm glad we were finally able to figure out a
Yes,
time.
I'm super glad as well. It was really nice chatting, and let's keep in touch. And thanks very much for taking the time and the interest. I'm just so happy to see that people actually take an interest in what I do and what I've developed. That makes me super happy.
And that was episode 47. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know that I certainly loved this episode. I will leave all the info in the description about how to check out these amazing surf hats. And of course, we will see you next Monday with another episode. Bye, guys.